Hello, welcome to the series of Unity tutorial videos. In this tutorial series, we're going to make a simple breakout game, but the approach of this tutorial series is going to be a little different from what you might normally expect. I'm going to treat this tutorial series like I would treat a Let's Play. It's an idea I've had rolling around, something I want to try out, so I'm going to do it with that. I'm going to do it with this series of videos, and also this breakout game is become my intro to Unity class or tutorial that I walk someone through if it's their first time with Unity. So I would like to also make a video form of that I can point people at and reference if I've taught you one-on-one or in a class setting and you want to go back and review something we may have covered. These videos will serve that purpose as well. Diving in here, I'm going to launch Unity. I'm using, this is Unity 5.1. Just know that if you're running a much later edition of Unity that things may have changed since this was recorded. I'm going to make a new project here. And we're going to make this game, let's see, I keep all my projects in, there we go, that folder. I'm going to call this Unity Breakout. We're going to make this a 2D game, but I'm going to start us off in 3D mode, because I want to highlight what 2D and 3D really mean inside of Unity. Now, for this tutorial, you don't need to have any experience, but that said, Unity is a little rough for a very first game environment. It is quite capable and powerful. There's no reason why you can't make it your first game engine. But if you have no prior experience coding or 3D modeling or graphic sprite animation or any game dev experience, any one of those individually, not all of them, but just at least one of them, it might be a lot to take on all at once. And you may find something like Game Maker, which I've used several times in the past for tutorials, is a great place to start, and you may stay in Game Maker and never feel the need to move to Unity, and that's good. I will say for this tutorial, I'm not going to say that you have to know anything. I'll show you everything, including the code, and explain and walk through it. It's going to be much more laid back than your standard tutorial. I'm not going to just rush the steps, do this and repeat after me. This is going to be more of a Let's Play style discussion as we go along. And hopefully this yields a tutorial type video that can complement maybe some others. Okay, so the first thing in the My Unity, you can see when My Unity opened up, it probably didn't look like your Unity when your Unity opened up. Your Unity probably opened up and looked something like this. Where you have the game and the scene tab up top here, and you have this asset folder and such here. I'm just personally not a fan of this layout, and so one cool thing about Unity is you can customize your environment any way you like it. So, from the layout menu in the top right over here, there's one called 2x3, and this is the one I like. So you got 2 vertical, and I guess you got 3 horizontal over here. Now take this project tab, and so you can just rip them off and drag them anywhere. And I drop it down here, and then I use this little hamburger menu to go from 2-column to a 1-column layout. Okay, so this gives me, this is really good setup for a nice 16:9 monitor setup, because you get essentially 2 16:9 style windows. You can resize a bit over here for working. So you get 2 nice landscape menus, windows for working on your game and seeing your game. And you have some nice real estate usage of all the stuff in your game, and it's very compact and efficient. Now, normally I would be in 1920 by 1080 and have a lot more room, but to make the video more legible, I went with 1280 by 720 as my resolution. So things are a little bit more cramped than I'm used to, but that's okay. All right. So if you like a layout, like I do, you can actually, in the layout menu, you can save the layout. You can give it a call like Mike's favorite. And now, if I switch to default and do some things in it, and then I switch back, I've got my layout saved. Unity's great about allowing you to customize your settings. So real quick to sort of round out this intro video, let's talk quick about the important areas that we have up here. So this area over here, the scene window, is what you will directly work in and manipulate. It's sort of the design view of the game. Okay. The game window is the player's view of the game. And the important thing here in this window is these settings right here. You can add custom resolutions if you want, or you can go with aspect ratios. So if I know, let's say our breakout game, we're going to target a 4:3 aspect ratio, or I know, like, hey, we're going to go 16:9, more common on today's monitors, then I can set this to a 16:9 aspect ratio, and then it will scale appropriately. I could also, if I was going to make a really retro game and I wanted it 640x480, I can put in 640x480, and you can. It'll even tell you here what resolution it's using. So if you're trying to do something where pixel perfect precision matters, and this using resolution is up, then you're not going to be able to test your pixel perfect alignment with that. So I'm going to go ahead and set this to 16:9 for now. The other cool thing about this window, it may have maximize on play. If that's highlighted and you hit play, then it does just that. It maximizes the whole game when you hit play. If you leave it off, then you can still have access to the rest of your environment while you're playing your game. Mute audio is obvious. Stats is sort of interesting. So, stats here, I'm going to zoom in. This gives you your audio level and whether you've clipped. So that's an important thing to watch when you start working with audio. You have some information about content loading here. And, I'm sorry, not content loading. How much loading and stream you have on the digital signal processor and audio loading. Your graphics is probably what you're going to be more interested in to begin with. And right there is the frame rate, which you can see, even though I'm recording this, we're running at a nice 4,000 frames per second. So no one's going to complain. This is the best game ever, according to some people. But you can monitor your frame rate there. Real quick and easy to get to. How much time you're using on the CPU. Batches is essentially how many times it has to go through the scene and send stuff, a batch, to the graphics card. So, it's making 2 passes right now, and we're not saving anything. That becomes important later, and it's not something we're even going to worry about in this first game. Let's see, even though I haven't done anything, we have a lot of 1.7 thousand triangles and 5,000 vertices going on. Where is that coming from? Oh, well, there's a skybox happening in there. This is how much memory a single screen is taking up at the resolution that it's being rendered at. And then some more information. I'm not going to really get into all of this, but for like animations and shadow casting and things like that, it's a nice, good, quick view of performance issues. There are better, more in detailed tools, but it's a good first pass, because if your frame rate starts to dip, then you need to start looking at the other stats and start figuring out why is my frame rate dipping and not let that happen. Okay, so over here, the only thing we have in our scene is a camera and a directional light. The main camera is just that. It's the camera. I'm going to zoom way out here in this window and move it around a bit. So the camera is a point from which the player is looking. It's rendering that screen down there. And I'll get into a little more detail on the camera in the next video. But this triangle that it has drawn here is exactly what is and is not in the triangle. So if I make a cube, and I'm going to go ahead and ignore what I'm doing there. I just hit reset. Okay. So, there's the camera, and I'm going to hit the cube, and the cube is well within inside my camera right now. I'm going to get the arrows up. There you go. So you can see that this is the front of the camera, and this is where the cube is. Now, this is where my camera is. I'm going to take the cube and just select the cube. And if I move it to the camera, you see it's closer. If it's on the other side, you can't see it. And then also, you saw the camera, let's see, it ends. Again, I gotta get way out to do how this first camera ends, but you see this camera ends out here. So if I go back to my cube, and I take the cube past, it really gets tiny that you can't really tell. But if I scale up this cube to something ginormous, okay, you can see it's still back there. Alright, I'm gonna tweak this guy up a bit, and I'm gonna drag him away. Alright, so you can see he's ginormous, right? But he's right at the edge of that camera boundary, and once he's outside of it, it's gone completely. Okay, so just know that, you know, you're gonna have to have objects inside the realm of a camera to be seen. Alright, speaking of scene, this hierarchy window here is everything that is in what is called a scene. In fact, the first thing you want to do when you start a new project in Unity is save scene. I'm going to give this the name main. Okay. You see I got a main down here now. So main is a scene, and this comprises everything in that scene. I go make a new scene, and I save it. Now I have scene second, in which I don't have the cube, and if I double click on main, I load the main scene. You can think of scenes like levels if you want. They are just groupings of things active in your game, and switching scenes is a convenient way to take everything you have and toss it out and load a whole fresh set, rather than have to manually go through and delete everything and tweak everything up and add everything in. You can just switch scenes. You can also use scenes for things like the start menu and the high score screen. You know, things that you may not render in the game, and it can be easier just to have these things outside of the game. So this window up top is everything in the scene. The window down below are the assets in the project. If you right click on this window, there's an option that says show and explore. I'm doing this on Windows, but Unity runs on Mac, so you'll have something show in Finder, I believe. And when you do that, you get a window. Don't worry about these for the moment. This assets folder shows you the actual files that are the assets in your game, and this is where all your stuff will go that you will create. For example, I will jump off for a second. I'm going to grab a image file I have here of a sprite. There we go. I'm going to copy here my sprite rockbot. Okay, so it's just a PNG image. Okay, this is what the image looks like in photo viewer, right? It's got a transparent background. I just dropped it in the assets folder, and then it appears in Unity. Now it looks a little weird in Unity because I have to configure some import settings here. So, for example, it came in as a texture map. That's okay. But let's see, the default settings here format is compressed. I'm going to hit true color. And now it shows, and check my alpha is transparency. And so now I have, you can see in the preview window down here, I've got a checkered background. I mean, he is imported correctly. I'm going to drag and drop him. Oh, he's just a raw texture. I actually can make him into a sprite. I'd say if that's the way I'm going to use him. So there we go. I'm going to use him as a sprite. Alright, now I can just drop him in my game. And there, you see, there he is. So, as a sprite, he doesn't get further or closer. Oh, yeah, he does. What was I trying to do? Oh, yeah, I'm going to scale him up a bit. There we go. So, that's, you know, some art that we'll have for another game. And that's what this window down here is. This is the assets folder, which is linking directly to this assets directory. And anything you put in here shows up as something you can use in Unity. And there are tons of default importers for you to use here. Alright, I don't need him, so I'm going to delete him. And yes, when I deleted him, he went away. And look at that. We got this stupid thumbs DB because Windows just does dumb things like that all the time. And we don't want that in our game, so I'm going to get rid of that. I also... Wow, Windows is going to put it right back. I'll probably off camera. Between episodes, disable that. Don't actually need that. Yeah, I'm going to reload that. I'm going to get rid of these. I'm going to reset this guy back to -10 where he was at. And make sure everything is set up the way I had it. The last window that I haven't talked about, but I've kind of been using, as we started here, is the properties window. So, for example, the properties right now on the main camera. You saw I adjusted the properties when we did our image. But if I want to make our main camera, like I do on this, I'm going to set our background to black. Because we're going to go for a very old school style breakout game. And so I can change the solid color to black. Now that is just for this camera. There's no reason you can't have another camera in the system. And see, this camera has, when you look through it, is black. And this camera has the skybox. So you can have multiple cameras in the game. And so that skybox setting can be changed per camera. Just something to know there. And we're at a good spot here to end on the first video. And in the next video now, we're going to move into more in depth of this camera and getting it set up for our breakout game. But from here on in, we're going to start moving on building the actual project. So thank you for watching.